Hello and welcome back to Retired Happy. This is your Retired Happy friend Carolyn from Mississippi. So today I want to just let you know how nice and fall it is at our house. We woke up to 53 degrees this morning, and I put my little quilt on my bed that I made last year with my fall fabric with the pumpkins and the puppy dogs on it, and it felt good. So Maisie didn't stay outside today. It was too cool for her to even stay outside. She's such a cold-natured little dog. So anyway, it is beginning to feel like it. Our leaves are beginning to turn more, lots of yellows and oranges. So today I'm going to show you my little garden out back. And it's not a garden, but it's my garden. And it's a little section in my flower bed that I have sectioned off to plant. I planted some radishes, some turnip greens, and some mustard greens. And then I planted in a little pot some chives. So I'm planning right now, my plan is to bring my chives and my herbs, parsley, hopefully my basil, inside so that I can have it during the winter to use. So that's my plan right now. I hope it will work out. We'll see. But I will show you my little garden. And today, cooking in my kitchen, I'm going to be cooking the okra and tomatoes over rice. So if you're used to this, let me know if it's the way you're used to having it, and if it's not, then I hope you'll try it because it's really good. And Maisie will go for a walk, and I'll try to show you around and show you some of our fall scenery. It's a beautiful day to be outside today. So there are lots of football games, lots of craft shows and markets, and just people out enjoying the beautiful fall weather. Now today we've had a lot happen here in Mississippi over the weekend, and you'll hear about it probably on the national news. Friday night after homecoming game, we had what they called a mass shooting, Leland, Mississippi, after one of the high school games, and then at two other high schools. And then last night I heard that there was a shooting at one of the colleges. So y'all, I don't know, the times are kind of getting uncertain and unsettled. It's surprising to me at all the news. So anyway, we do have heavy hearts in Mississippi today, and even our little country rural communities and cities are not immune to having catastrophic, tragic things happen. So just know that we in Mississippi are suffering the same problems and catastrophes other parts of the country are. But today our hearts are hopeful, and our hearts are just enthusiastic that everything is going to go tomorrow with the release of the hostages in Israel, and that the peace is going to hold, and that the people will be able to return to their homes in Gaza, that things are going to settle down where they can rebuild. So I, along with all of y'all, will be watching television tomorrow and watching the news. This will post tomorrow, so I will be very attuned to the news and the world happenings tomorrow. So the good word for today is in Philippians, and it's going to be the 4th chapter. With everything that's going on all over the world and right here at home in Mississippi, this is what I wanted to share with you today for our good word. Final brethren, Paul is writing this: whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are noble, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are good report, if there is any virtue, and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. And then the next thing, these things which you have learned and received and heard and saw in me, these do. The God of peace will be with you. So with all that is going on in the world, let us remember Paul's words to us in Philippians and think on the things that are lovely and pure and beautiful. Now Thursday, I will share with you our potluck. We had potluck dinner at our church today, which is always the second Sunday of the month. I'll share what I took today on Thursday, and it's chicken veg casserole, and I'll share that with you, the recipe and what was left, which there was not but about a spoonful left. But I hope you have a good week. Oh, and I wanted to also tell you, I heard on the news yesterday or Saturday that Diane Keaton has passed, and I loved watching Diane Keaton's movies. I loved her in Father of the Bride 1 and 2 and Something's Gotta Give. So Father of the Bride 1 and 2 were two of my favorite movies that she did. So in the comments, if you liked watching Diane Keaton movies, I'd like for you to put in the comments what's your favorite Diane Keaton movie. Which one did you like best? And I'm sure you'll think of some of the ones that I have forgotten. So let's get on with the cooking, and remember to share your smile with everyone around you, because everybody is dealing with something, and in these uncertain times there's a lot that we are concerned about. Oh, and I almost forgot, and I wanted to share with you two things that I got at the store this week, which these are two new things, and I'll show them to you on my casserole recipe next week. But these are, I've got a real glare on that. These are two seasonings that I've got, and this one is a salt-free seasoning. I didn't have these when I made the tuna noodle casserole, but I would have put some on there just to have some added flavor. But I did add it to my okra and tomatoes over rice after I got this, and then I added it to the chicken veg casserole that I made to take to the potluck today. So I did get both of these at Dollar Tree, and I read the ingredients on it, made sure that there were no preservatives. They are made and distributed in the U.S., so I was careful before I bought them and took them home. I checked the expiration dates, made sure they were good, so they'll be good for 2 more years according to the expiration date. And I also wanted to show you a little Betty Bear. She is all dressed in her little fall dress. She has on her little fall outfit. This is the little dress that I crocheted for her out of the same pattern that her pink one was crocheted in, but I made this one a little bit bigger because I thought the pink one was a little bit snug on her. But isn't she cute? And when I made Betty Bear and put her together, I put a little heart on her. So on her little tummy, she has a heart. So this is Betty Bear. And next time you see her, she'll be sitting right up there on the shelf because that's her usual spot. So Betty Bear is all ready for fall. I have just gotten through planting my fall garden. So this is my garden that I keep talking about. This is from my patio, and this is my garden. So I just planted some chives, and that's in that pot right there by my patio. And then this little area right there, I have pulled the pine straw back and dug it up and planted radishes, purple top turnips, and mustard greens. So that's right in there. I just got through watering everything and planting it. So now we're going to watch it sprout and come up. And on this side of my patio, these are my flowers, and my flowers up by my little patio. But there's my basil, and it's kind of looking scraggly. My mint is in that pot, and this is my tomatoes that got too big and they weren't producing, so I cut it all back, and this is a sprout that came up from the bottom of my tomato, and it's blooming. And I do have 2 little tomatoes, so we'll watch it and see if I get more tomatoes. And right there behind that is my rosemary bush, and it is perennial, so it comes back every year. Now while I'm out here, I've been watching these mockingbirds, so I hope I can catch them. There they go. They are singing and they're chasing each other and it has been so much fun while I've been out here digging and planting, watering all my flowers. It's so dry. I'm going to have to keep them watered, but I don't think they'll come back now that I have the camera on them. But there's one. It just lit in the tree. There's two. But there are about 3 or 4 mockingbirds that are chasing each other around on the rooftops and in the trees. There's one sitting there. Can you see that one on top of the roof? But they are just flying and having more fun. I think the cool weather has them all frisky. And there's my little Maisie girl. She's sitting out here watching me do my gardening this morning. My wagon, my hoe, my rake. So Maisie's watching the man down the way doing some digging and fixing a water leak. So, oh, the breeze feels so good this morning. It feels like a nice, crisp fall morning. So I hope you can catch those mockingbirds. Thank you, Lord, for sending the mockingbirds to keep me company this morning and sing to me while I'm doing my gardening. And my little morning glories are just blooming so pretty. Now that the weather's cooler, everything is blooming and doing so much better. Before we go in the kitchen and we start making the okra and tomatoes over rice, I'm going to show you what I did with the pillowcases that we made a little bit earlier. And this was one of my pillowcase tutorials, and I just love this fabric. So this is the fabric that I showed you that I got at Hobby Lobby. It was fall, and I got it back, I believe, in July or August, but this worked up so pretty. I had them folded, and I decided one day I was going to get them out and put them on my pillows, and all the colors just coordinated beautifully. I already had the bedspread, and I already had that pillow, the blue pillow that's in the middle, so it just all came together. But that fabric is, I used it for my apron, I used it to make hot pads, and then you see I made the pillowcases with it. Well, I shared with you on the last video, that was on Thursday, I took you on a trip with me to the produce market, and I got some of the, 2 of the large tomatoes that you saw, and a really good bunch of the okra. The okra was so beautiful, so I had to go ahead and get the okra. So today in my kitchen, we're going to make okra and tomatoes over rice. So I'm going to put my boiler of water on to boil for my rice. Cook your rice by the directions on your package. I'm using jasmine rice for my recipe, and this is my jasmine rice that I got at Kroger. So I will need the rice. I'm going to need my tomatoes. I have 2 large tomatoes. I'm going to chop those, and then I have my okra. So I'm guessing, I didn't weigh it, but I'm guessing this is about 1.5 pounds. It may be 2 pounds of okra, and it's really small, really going to be good tender okra. So in addition to that, we'll need half an onion chopped and olive oil to put in the pan for the okra and tomatoes, and salt. And that's all we'll need for this wonderful, delicious meal. Okay, the water is now boiling for the rice. So I'm going to go ahead and add the rice and get the rice on to boil. And while the rice is cooking, I'm going to chop up all of the okra and the tomatoes. So I'm adding salt to my rice water, and I'm pouring in, this is my jasmine rice, and get that on to cook. And just cook your rice according to your directions on how you normally cook rice. And I really, really like the jasmine and the basmati rice. Both of those are really good. They have such a tender, good flavor. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead with the okra, and I'm going to chop. First of all, I'm going to chop the tops off the okra. And I have a little bowl in the back that I collect all of my trimmings And I'm going to put those trimmings out in that little flower bed that I showed you this morning. And I do have my turnip greens, some radishes, and some mustard greens. Now, if you're not familiar with mustard greens, my grandmother and my mother both always grew mustard greens right along with their turnip greens. And they fixed them together. Usually they would boil the turnip greens and the mustard greens together. And the mustard greens are a lot like turnip greens, except they have a bigger leaf. And I really like the flavor of the mustard greens. Okay, the rice is boiling, so I'm going to stir that, turn my heat down on the rice, and let that cook. So now the heat is down on medium on my rice, and I'm going to go, when I'm cutting my okra up for the okra and tomatoes, I cut it pretty much the way I do when I'm going to fry it. So just in regular size slices. So now I'm going to go ahead and get all the okra sliced and cut up and ready to go in the skillet. I have just a regular size skillet that I'm going to cook it in. And I need a big enough skillet that I can get all of my okra and all of my tomatoes in. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all the tops off. Now, when I buy okra in the grocery store, and this is one reason I like to put up my own okra in the freezer for the summertime, so whatever okra I'm going to be using. But when I buy it, these little tops are in with the okra, and I don't put that in my cooking. So when I buy it, I have to go through the whole package of frozen okra and take those little tops off. But when I'm preparing it in my kitchen, I cut right at that little edge and just cut that top off. Now my rice is boiling, and this is the last 3 little okra I have to slice, and I have my skillet on heating with the olive oil. So as soon as the olive oil gets warm, I'm going to go ahead and add the okra in first. The okra takes the longest to cook, so I will add the okra first, and then I'll add the onion to the okra, and then add the tomato. Now the olive oil is warm, so now we're going to go ahead and add the okra to the skillet. I'm going to salt it and add a little bit more olive oil. So I'd say 2 tablespoons now of olive oil. And I'm going to let that sit and cook, and go ahead and get the onion ready to go in, to keep the onion odors from going on everything. So I'm going to start with half an onion, because that was a pretty good bit of okra. So get the onion in, get it diced small, and then peel my tomatoes. Now this also is a very quick meal, and you can adjust the amount that you're cooking by how much of each ingredient you take. So cooking for one, probably I would guess 1 large tomato and maybe a pound or even a half pound of okra. But when we get to the finishing part, you'll see kind of the ratio and the proportions of each one that we have on how you want it to look. Now I am planning on sharing this with my neighbor, so I'm cooking a little bit more than what I would need just for myself. So the onion is going in with the okra, and stir that up. And I am going to go ahead and put the lid on my skillet because I want that to steam. and I want it to cook. So I'm putting the lid on it now for the tomatoes, and dice my tomatoes. The rice is almost done. It's a little bit crunchy, but I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off under my rice and put the lid on it and let it sit on the burner and finish cooking while I do the tomatoes. So now the okra and the onions are in the pan with the lid on, and they are steaming, and I'm cutting the tomatoes up into small pieces. They don't have to be real small pieces, but they are going to cook down, but we don't want them in big pieces. So I'm just slicing up the tomatoes and getting them ready to go in while the okra starts cooking. The okra will take longer to cook than the tomatoes do, so the okra needs to get in the pan and get started first. Then the onion, then the tomatoes. And these are really nice big tomatoes. These are the ones that I showed you at the produce stand. And I don't know whether they're still Mississippi grown or whether they're coming from somewhere else. I didn't ask them, but they look like our Mississippi field grown tomatoes, because they still are looking like good summer tomatoes. There's a big difference in grocery store tomatoes and hothouse tomatoes and field-grown tomatoes. That's why so many people in the summer, when their tomatoes are plentiful, they go ahead and can them and put them in jars for the winter, because there's just nothing like homegrown tomatoes. Okay, the tomatoes are sliced. Now this is going in the pan with the okra. And the okra is looking great. It is turning a light green and it's getting soft. Now the tomatoes are going to make their own juice, so I'm not going to have to add any other juice. So right now I'm going to just watch it and see if the tomatoes make enough juice all by itself, because I don't think I'll need to add any other, because usually I just use the tomatoes, the juice from the tomatoes. Okay, we got that core cut out. I'm going to go ahead and slice the second tomato. Isn't that a beautiful tomato? These are so pretty, and they're going to really taste good. This is the reason usually we fix okra and tomatoes at the end of the summer, is because that's when the okra is the most plentiful. When I had my garden, and I had a big garden, and then my mother and daddy had a big garden. My daddy's garden was really big, but in the fall is when you have more okra than you can do anything with. Okra is very, very plentiful late in the summer. And so are the tomatoes. So after you've gotten through canning all the tomatoes that you want to can and put up or freeze, then you've got plenty of tomatoes and okra to do something with. So okra and tomatoes cooked together and put it over rice is really good. So y'all let me know in the comments if this is something that you're used to using, because I got the recipe from a neighbor years and years ago when our children were young and growing up, and we were in carpool together, and she was making okra and tomatoes, and so I got the recipe from her, and it's been a family staple ever since. Okay, let's see how that looks. Now you can see how, I'll bring you over here in a minute so you can see the pan, but you will see the ratio of the okra and the tomatoes on how much of each one you want. So I'm going to turn the heat back up just a little bit. It's on medium now. It had gotten a little too warm, so I had turned my burner down, not quite so hot. But I am going to go ahead and add the rest of this tomato, and I think that will be enough. I hope it is, because I think we're going to go with it on no matter how it looks, because I don't have any other tomatoes. I only bought 2 for this recipe. I'm interested if people in other parts of the country, are you planting a fall garden? I'm thinking right now that when it gets almost frost or close, that is the rest of that tomato. So let's go ahead and get that in the pan so it can all be cooking together. So I'm going to put the lid on that. I'll take you over there so you can see how it's looking. Okay, I'm going to bring you over here so you can see the okra and tomatoes. I did add a little bit more salt to it because as a lot of times happens with my home cooking, I have more than I had planned on. So this is what it's looking like, and this is exactly the way I wanted it to look. So on the proportions of your okra and tomatoes, you need about the same amount of both ingredients. And since I didn't measure it when I was buying it, I just bought the okra and then I bought the tomatoes to go in it. But you want it to look like this. You want it to be a tomato sauce and have the okra and have the onions in it. So I'm going to put the lid on it and let that simmer. The rice is in the boiler, and the rice I'm going to just fluff it, stir it so it won't stick to the bottom of my boiler, and let it sit. Now, if you notice, I don't know if you noticed or not, but I do not rinse my rice. And I know there's a lot of opinion that you should rinse it, but in my opinion, I don't. And one reason I don't is because when I'm rinsing it, a lot of those vitamins and minerals and nutrients that are in your rice are going down the drain. And I don't want them going down the drain. And that's why also when I'm cooking my potatoes, I do not want to pour the liquid off of my potatoes. I want to cook it down, let the liquid that's in my potatoes evaporate and boil off, and then I get to keep the juice and all those vitamins and minerals in my potatoes and in my food. So there you go. It's just a matter of opinion and what you like and what you think is the best way to do it. So that's the way, my opinion and the way I do it. Okay, I'm going to let that simmer. Just put the lid on it, and it's not going to take very long at all for that to get done. Now you see I did not add any water to it, and all the liquid and the juice is boiling out of the tomatoes and out of the okra, and this will make the sauce to go over the rice. And the olive oil, I use olive oil in this recipe. I didn't have to heat the olive oil up to a high temperature to fry or cook anything, so it stays on a low temperature. And I like the flavor of the olive oil in this particular dish. It just adds to the flavor of the dish. So we're going to set that, cover it with the lid, turn the heat down just a little, and let it simmer. Just to add a little bit more flavor to the okra and tomatoes, I'm going to add pepper to it and let the pepper cook in with it while it's all cooking. So this is just regular ground black pepper. And I do get it in a big container because I do use a lot of it. Now the rice and the okra and tomatoes are done, so we are ready to eat lunch. So I'm going to go ahead and take my rice, and on my plate I'll put a pretty good spoonful of rice. So we'll put the rice right there. And I really don't put bread with this dish because of the rice, and it already has carbohydrate with it. And with the okra and the tomatoes and the onion, it's a pretty complete meal all in itself. So this is my lunch today, and oh, it's going to be good. This is a late summer traditional dish at our house, So I'm looking forward to sitting down and trying it out. So doesn't that look good? To drink and go with it, I have my palm juice, half cup palm juice, and I have my okra and tomatoes, and I'm ready to sit down and eat lunch. Maisie's been patiently waiting, and she's ready for her lunch. The routine is I cook lunch, I sit down and eat. She lays in her bed while I eat. And as soon as I get through eating, she's up and in the kitchen because she knows then it's her turn to eat. So she's used to our routine. Now I think this may be cool enough to go ahead and take a bite. So see on the plate, the tomatoes and the okra and the rice. And that's the proportions. This looks beautiful. So this is exactly what it should look like. Hot. But it is so good. It's just something about the flavor of the okra and the tomatoes and the rice and the onions. It's just so good. It's just part of late summer going into fall. For my salad today, to go with this late summer meal, I'm going to put a sliced apple and some peanut butter, and that's going to be my dessert and my salad. Good, good, good.